correctly. And so you guys didn't get through 13.
No,
That's
because
a lot of discussions.
Yeah, a lot of discussions.
It's like 30 verses. Okay, we can do the Mangalacharanam for the Gita.
Okay.
I think it's very nice. You can read the translations on our own. They're all quite amazing. And these are nice meters. They're nice meters to learn how to recite. Okay, do you guys know how to sing the first meter? It's on page 2. 2 with the brackets.
Page 2.
The very, very beginning of the book.
We know how to sing? Probably not. Let's try it.
Okay, so these are all fairly common meters in Sanskrit. So let's learn how to chant them, to recite them. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitang Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitang Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharate Advaitamrita Varshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashaadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandathami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Phullara Vindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purna Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Duhe Namaha Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsaha Sudhir Bhokta Dugdhang Gitamritang Mahat Vasudeva Sutam Devang Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Bhishma Drona Tata Jayadratha Jala Gandhara Nilotpala Shalya Grahavati Kripena Vahani Karnena Velakula Ashvathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Sotirna Khalu Pandavairananadi Kaivattakaha Keshavaha Parasharyavacha Sarojamamalang Gitatthakandhotkatam Nana Kyanaka Kesaram Harikatha Sambodhana Bodhitam Loke Sajjana Shatpaday Raharaha Pepi Yamanang Muda Bhuyad Bharata Pankajam Kalimala Pradvangsina Shreyase Yang Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stunvanti Divyaistavayir Vedai Sangapadakramopanishadair Gayanti Yasamagaha Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yang Yogino Yasyantam Naviduhu Surasuragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narotamam Deving Saraswating Vyasang Tato Jayam Udirayet. Jaya. Beautiful. interesting. So all these meters, they're called in English anyway. There are a lot of standardized meters that you compose Sanskrit in. And you can see that they have a set number of syllables per line. So all the shlokas fit within one of these meters. And then there's ways to chant each of the meters. Mm-hmm. And obviously when they get more and more syllables per line, they're more difficult to compose. Mm-hmm. So these are all kind of standard meters. This first one is 19 syllables per line.
The first one?
Yeah. Like if you count them, there's like 12, and then you say the last 7. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitang Bhagavata. Oh, sorry. Wait.
I lost count.
Om Parthaya Pratibodhitang Bhagavata. Wow, that is interesting. That's 13 syllables. Narayanena Swayam. So that's 20 syllables per line.
20?
Yeah.
Where is I counted 19.
It should be 19. I think the Om is not counted.
No.
There's the Om and then Parthaya Pratibodhitang Bhagavata. Yeah, that's what it is. Vyasena Gratitang Purana Munina. Yeah, that should be 12. Vyasena Grati Tang Purana Munina. Yeah, that's 12. So you say the first 12 and then the last 7. You do the first 12 and then a pause. Vyasena Gratitang Purana Munina Madhe Mahabharate, and then there's 7 at the end. So, anyways, it's very interesting.
It is. And
people who are reading these can just switch between all the meters. Different ways to chant them. But this, Prapanna Parijataya, that's the most common meter in all the Sanskrit compositions. And almost the whole Gita is in that meter.
Meaning like the same quantity, the same amount of...
Right, there's 4 lines and the same syllables. Prapanna Parijataya, 8 syllables per line and 4 lines.
8 syllables per line.
Okay, so let's try to worship chapter 13. See if we can get through it. But sometimes there's questions about this because it's a hard thing to understand. And in the end, everything ultimately is coming from spirit. So everything has spirit in it, even if it's matter. Okay, so how do you say Prakriti, Purusha? So Prakriti means matter, Purusha means spirit. Viveka Yoga. Or in some ways to say Prakriti means the feminine, or in some ways to say Prakriti means the potency, the energy. And then Purusha means spirit, but it also means the divine male or the Lord or spirit. So Prakriti Purusha Viveka Yoga, because ultimately everything is composed of Shakti and Shaktiman, energy and the possessor of energy.
Energy and the energetic.
And the energetic, yes, that's a good way of saying it.
That's how Srila Prabhupada says it.
Yeah. Okay, I will start the Sanskrit. Or actually, we can read the Sanskrit together.
Okay.
Arjuna Uvacha Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetragyam Evacha Etad Veditum Ichhami Jnanam Geyam Chakeshava. So there's a small group of us tonight, and everyone's a devotee. So I'm going to just say some extra stuff here. Okay, so you see how we did a different tune on that meter, right?
In the beginning.
So like before we said Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Duhe Namaha. You could do this one in that same way. Prakritim Purushang Cheva Kshetram Kshetragyameva Cha Etad Veditum Ichhami Jnanam Geyam Chakeshava. There's a lot of ways to sing this particular meter. The one that we've been doing Gita in is Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetragyameva Cha Etad Veditum Ichhami Jnanam Geyam Chakeshava. There's a half a dozen other tunes that you could sing the same meter in. So those are two of them, and we can learn more.
Yes. And maybe to learn this new one that you're teaching us, we can read reduction in this session.
Okay, so we'll read. Okay, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Idang Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram Ityabhidhiyate Etad Yoveti Tang Prahu Kshetragya Iti Tadvida Kshetragyam Chapi Mam Vidhi Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata Kshetra Kshetragyayodhyanam Yattadhyanam Mama Batang Mama. Okay. Arjuna said, "O Keshava, I would like to know about material nature, the person, the field, the knower of the field, knowledge, and the object of knowledge." The Supreme Lord said, "O Arjuna, this body is known as the field. One who knows this field is described by the learned as the knower of the field. O Bharata, you should know also me as the knower of all fields. This knowledge of the field and of the knower of the field is true knowledge, in my opinion." That was interesting because Arjuna says, what is knowledge and what's the purpose of knowledge? Because there's a lot of stuff you can know. You can get out an encyclopedia and just know a bunch of stuff.
Oh, well, he said, in my opinion, in the end. Right?
Krishna says this a lot. This is very interesting.
And they don't put it in the translation, right? Because translation is much shorter. I mean, this translation English.
They don't put what in my...
I mean, in my opinion, it's not clear.
Yeah, it is. It's in verse 3.
Makam Mama.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Krishna says that a lot, which I think is also very interesting, because he's just presenting this to Arjuna for his own... It's like there's always free will. Even the Lord himself can be speaking to you, and he's going to say, it's my opinion. And a lot of people can just be like, nah. Okay, does everybody understand what that means? The field and the knower of the field?
Is the field limited to just the body?
The field is the body and what the body interacts with, you can say.
That's the field.
That's the field. And we also have our mind, which is part of the body, right? It's part of the bodily experience. So you can say that the soul is undergoing this experience of being in the body and undergoing our own interactions with it and our own disturbances and all these kinds of things that we have happening with our experience of life. That's our field. And your field is different than my field. And your field is different than his field, and your field is different than all of our fields. All of us are having a very unique experience of life, and we have unique perceptions of existence. Krishna is experiencing all of our experiences. He is the knower of all fields. And He's experiencing everything that we also can't experience. He's experiencing the whole thing. That's important to understand. Krishna, through His form as Super Soul, is the knower of all fields. We know one field. And we don't even know, we only know the parts of the field that we can know, right? For example, we have probably 1 trillion or more bacteria inside of our digestive system. Like, they all have their own fields. We don't even know that they exist, right? So we have this very limited perception, very self-centered, small perception of reality. And that's kind of like what we're interacting with. Okay. Oh, let's read verse 4. Tat kshetram yatscha yadrikcha vad yadvikari yatascha yat sachayo yat prabhavascha tat samasena me shrinu rishibhir bahudha gitam chandobhir vividhai prithak brahma sutra padaishchaiva hetumadbhir vinishchitaihi mahabhutanyahankaro buddhir avyaktamevacha indriyani dashaikam cha panchachendriya gocharaha ichcha dvesha sukham dukkham sanghataschetana dhritihi etat kshetram samasena savikaram udahritam. Okay, I'm on to 4, 5, and 6, and 7.
Now hear from me briefly what this field is, its constitution, transformations, causes and effects, and who the knower of the field and of its potency. This has been taught in many ways by various sages, the different Vedas and the aphorisms of the Brahma Sutra with its conclusive logic. The 5 primary elements of ether, air, fire, water and earth, ego, intelligence and the unmanifest material nature. The 10 senses, the mind and the 5 objects of the senses, likes, dislikes, happiness and happiness, the aggregate consciousness and determination. All these are summarily known as the field and its transformations.
Okay, everyone got that?
So ego and intelligence are kind of also elements as like ether, air and fire, or are they like in a separate category?
They're in a separate category, but they're not spiritual. They're part of the field. It's part of Prakriti.
Alright. So soul is not in this list, right?
No, because that's not the field. The soul's the knower of the field.
So happiness, that's not us.
That's occurring in your interaction with the field, or not the field. All these things are manifestations of the embodied condition. So the embodied condition of the soul is perceiving. So you can see the interesting thing about 6 and 7. The field is composed of what we're surrounded with, all the elements that we're surrounded with, and the layers by which we interact with them, and the feelings that arise within us by those interactions. That's all the field. So we're fully immersed, you could say. We're having an immersive experience. Fully immersed. But we have to be able to, with our own intelligence, because this is going to live in our intelligence, these things Krishna is saying. We have to be able to distinguish between Prakriti and Purusha. We have to distinguish between the soul and the interactions of the field. Right? So, the 10 senses. That's interesting. It says the 10 senses. The mind, the 5 objects of the senses. Likes, dislikes, happiness, unhappiness. The aggregate, consciousness and determination. Dandavat. Hi. Is the soul considered innocent? The soul is free. In the deepest sense, the soul has choice. Because otherwise, the word consciousness has no meaning without will, right? You have to be able to make decisions. Otherwise, what is consciousness? Otherwise, you're just a bot. You're following programming. The funny thing about freedom is that it has no meaning unless it includes the freedom to do wrong. Right? That was Gandhi's argument to the British, because the British, when the Indians kind of said to the British, like, "Hey, you guys need to stop ruling us," and the British were like, "You guys are definitely not ready to run your own country." That was the British response, and Gandhi said back to them, "Freedom means the right to do wrong." That's what it means. He's like, we need to be free, and of course, freedom means we can mess up. That's what it means. So, I would say the soul's free. And you're navigating a world, I think that there's some understanding of the captivation. The Lord understands the captivation that the soul can endure when having this particular kind of bodily experience, right? We become captivated by desires that are based on certain outcomes within this fluctuating energy that we perceive, right? And that captivation of those desires leads us to do things that aren't necessarily the best things. And then when we do that, we lose a little bit of our intelligence, and then we start doing other really dumb things. And it has a little bit of a downward spiral. So I would say there's freedom, and then there's consequences. That's basically what happens.
Is there ever a point where like a new soul, like a completely new soul is put out there, and that's the start? Or is it just like how?
It's a very, very difficult thing for us in our particular experience of reality to conceive of timelessness. Like you're kind of going like, when this thing started.
Kind of, yeah. I've just never been sure how to ask those questions.
Well, you have to try. You have to try and find the words, right? Because you have a question in you. Definitely, there is choice, and there's a point of choice. Okay, but you've always existed. So you have to understand that. You've existed, you're always free, so there's always points of choices. But it's sort of a the choice can be one of addiction. You know what I mean? Gurudev describing this once. Sorry, I see who this is. Okay, I don't need to take this. I heard Gurudev describing this once, where he said, the soul becomes captured by material energy through curiosity. He goes, you start to manipulate things, right? You start manipulating things and kind of going like, wow, right? And then you're like, oh my God, I can have one of these.
Wait, could you say that again? Soul started
with curiosity, where you start just sort of like, oh wow, this one, whoa, this one's mine, actually, right? You start doing stuff like that, and then you become attached. And then I've got my one this, and I really like how it goes like that. And then somebody comes along, like Haridev, and goes, all right, it's going back on the shelf. And I'm like, who are you? And why are you taking my thing to the... Right? And then you get disturbed. So, from curiosity, Gurudev said, comes the experience of ownership and consumption, right? Acquiring. Once you acquire it, you want to control it. You also want to get some pleasure from it. Acquire, control, consume. And once you start doing that, you become addicted. So addiction is really the root of the material binding. Whether we're addicted to drugs, and for us, addiction just basically means addiction to drugs or a particular experience, but actually the entire material experience is stacks of addictions.
There's an addiction to needing to know everything.
Right. That can also be an addiction. They're patterns, multi-layered patterns of our ways of dealing with reality. Right? And one of the great things about spiritual life is to start to bring intention and notice these patterns and bring intention into our life. Because so much of what we can do and live is just a perpetuation of this pattern that we haven't even really contemplated. We get in a certain situation and we just react. For example, we get in a situation and we act with anger, right? Are we really like living a life of intention and going like, I'm going to get angry now? No, we're not. It's just going straight to anger. The pattern just asserts itself, right? But if you actually brought that into a consideration where you're thinking, oh, my Lord gave me this experience. What can I learn from it? I know my Lord loves me. Oh, there's positivity in this. You're going to start breaking your patterns, right? You're going to start bringing intention and consciousness into your life. And that's a big part of Bhakti Yoga. We have utilized our free will to build all these broken ways of engaging with reality. When really our purpose, our reason for being is that we have love to give. We have love to give. And all of our pain is because we're not giving the love we have to give. We're just interacting with these stupid little selfish ways of being. And the love that we have to give is to the source, right? Because when we start giving love, that's tinged with these acquiring, controlling, consuming mentalities, it's not love, right? We have to learn how to give love through sacrifice. And so we have to start, learning how to imbue this deeper, beautiful intention in our life and becoming aware of the patterns that we have that are like, dominating, controlling us to a certain extent. Is that... Huh?
Can't say I won't have more questions.
No, please. It's what we're here for. These are gonna, we're receiving knowledge that's absolutely universal and timeless. So, okay. So 8 to 12. We'll do it in the Amanitvam vadambhitvam ahimsa kshantirajyavam acharyopasanam saucham stayam atma vinigraha indriyarteshu vairagyam anahamkara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi Dukhadoshānudarshanam asakti-anadishvanga uttradara grihadishu nityam cha samachitatvam ishtanishtopapatishu mayi chanandya yogena bhakti-abhyabhicharini vividya-desha sevitvam Anatirjana samsadi Adhyatma jnana nityatvam Tattva jnana tadarshanam Etat jnanam miti proktam Ajnanam tadato jnatam. Okay, Prabhu. Very beautiful verses.
Desirelessness for honor, pridelessness, non-violence, forbearance, honesty, service to the spiritual master, purity, stability, self-control, detachment from the objects of the senses, absence of egoism, awareness of the miseries of birth, disease, old age, and death, worldly detachment, absence of doting on children, wife, home, etc., constant equanimity in desirable or undesirable circumstances, undeviating pure devotion to me, residing in a solitary place, indifference to mundane association, constancy in self-indifference to mundane association, constancy in self-knowledge, and the vision of the goal of true knowledge. All these qualities have been set to denote knowledge. Anything contrary to this is to be considered ignorance.
It's like a beautiful bath for the mind to hear all these qualities. This idea of equanimity in different circumstances. Honor, pridelessness, desirelessness for honor, pridelessness, nonviolence, forbearance, honesty. All these things come and deliver a sense of freedom. Like, to be honest, takes a lot of courage. To contemplate truth and then to speak with all sincerity the truth that you contemplate. That's honesty, right? That's difficult. And sometimes there's consequences for honesty, right? To be, without pride, to be like equal in desirable and undesirable circumstance. It means that you are not attached to what is happening on the outside. You're ready for anything on the inside. Right? It means you're withdrawing from these patterns of attachment that we have placed ourselves in. Right? Now you want everybody to think you're cool. That's called pratishtha. Okay? Now you moved into a place where people dishonor you and you're okay with it. That's a completely different place. And it's not a false thing. It's a real thing. So, a lot of people have the idea of the goal is that everyone honors me. That's the goal I want. I want everyone to honor me. But a deeper goal is I don't care whether people honor me or not. That's a much deeper goal. Right? People have this idea that the perfect life is I get whatever my senses want. Right? My senses have a particular urge. I can immediately satisfy it. I have that kind of power within the world. That's considered to be an ideal. But the spiritual ideal is a little bit different. My senses want something, and I have the ability to be like, shut up. That's a far deeper ideal, right? So Krishna's speaking about this far deeper ideal, where these things are happening in this superficial plane, where everyone's caught up and in this state of anxiety, trying to dominate. And to be in a place where that doesn't matter to you, that's a place of far deeper freedom and far deeper accomplishment. Okay, I think we still need to read 13.
Yes.
Right, April?
13?
Yep.
No.
Don't we?
Because we only read until 12.
Oh, 13's on the top of the page. Sorry, I didn't see it. Geyam yattat pravakshami yajgyatva anadi matparang brahma nasattan nasadujyate. Would you like to read 13?
Now I shall describe the object of knowledge, realizing which one attains the nectar of life. Resting in me, it is known as Brahman, eternal, neither being nor non-being.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then?
You want me to read more?
We'll read the Sanskrit on 14, 15, 16. Then you can read those if you like.
Okay.
Sarvata panipadam tat sarvatokshi shiromukham sarvata shrutimaloke sarvam avritya tishtati sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarvabhrichaiva nirgunam gunabhoktricha bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charamevacha sukshmatvat tad avigyeyam durastham chantike chatat. Okay, you can read 14, 15, and 16.
Everywhere are his hands and feet. Everywhere are his eyes, heads, mouths, and ears. He pervades the entire universe as the Supersoul. He illuminates all the senses and their functions, yet he is without material senses. He is completely aloof to everything, yet he is the maintainer of all, Vishnu. He is transcendental to the three modes of material nature, yet he is the Lord of all qualities.
And one more.
He is situated within and without all moving and stationary beings, near and far, subtle, and therefore most difficult to comprehend.
On that, or we can move to 17, 18, 19. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam bhuta bhaktrir cha tajgyeyam rasishnu prabhavishnu cha jyotisham apitas jyotish tamasa paramuchyate jnanam geyam jnanagamyam hridhi sarvasya dhishtitam iti kshetram tatha jnanam geyam choktum samasatah madbhakta etad vigyaya madbhavayopapadyate. You want to read 17, 18, 19?
Although indivisible, he appears as divided in all beings. He is to be known as the one who manifests, maintains, and devours all beings. He is known as the illuminator of the luminaries, beyond darkness, situated in the hearts of all beings. He is knowledge, the object of knowledge, reached by knowledge. The field, knowledge, and the object of knowledge have been briefly described by me. Realizing these truths, my devotee attains love for me.
Yes. Okay, so there's two potencies of the Lord. One is called Brahman, the other is called Vasudeva, or Super Soul. And then at the base of all of them is Krishna. So there's a path called the path of knowledge. The path of knowledge, by just knowing and knowing and knowing and knowing more and more as much as you possibly can, reaches a conclusion, which is that everything is one thing. Okay? The everything as one thing, that potency of the Lord is called Brahman. Okay? Brahman means there's one energy that is uniting everything as one thing. And it's at the basis of everything that pops into existence. So it's pervading everything. And so Krishna is saying, by the path of knowledge, the purpose of knowledge is ultimately to realize Brahman. Those who follow the path of knowledge, they realize Brahman. They realize that there's a unifying principle to all things that exist, right? And that is pervading everything within existence.
What is the luminaries?
Where? The illuminator of the luminaries. So the sun in our solar system is the luminary. The luminary is the thing that brings light. So, and he's saying Brahman is the light of the things that bring light. The basis of light, essentially, you can say, is Brahman. And all these things are coming from that. So he's the illuminator of the luminaries.
Could you say that Guru is luminary?
Well, yeah, I would say that's a deeper sense than what Krishna is presenting here. But yes, we can say that. But in the sense of, just literally the physical, reality, that there's light pervading into the universe. He's saying that there's a source of that, right? There's a source of all that energy that is now, creating light. All the stars are sometimes... Another word for the stars, for example, is the luminaries. Because they're all the things in the sky that are outputting light, basically. Yeah. So the sun is a star. Just we're really close to it, so yeah. But yeah, a lot of times you'll learn. I do this all the time when I'm reading. Is you'll see a Sanskrit word translated, and when they translate it, it's like an English word that you never heard before, and you're like, okay, I learned. But it's very interesting at the end. It says, Mad Bhakta Etad Vigyaya. Krishna's saying, my devotee, Mad Bhava Yopapadyate. It says, my devotee attains love for me. You could say, Mad Bhavaya. But Bhava is a very interesting word. Because Bhava also means relationship. So Krishna's saying, because remember before in the Gita, Krishna said, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. I'm the basis of Brahman. So this viewpoint where everything has a unifying principle, there's no random things happening. Everything is unified under spiritual energy, under Brahman. Ramanujacharya called that apritag bhava, is to understand that there's a unifying principle to everything. So as you interact with everything, you should be interacting with everything with the Lord at the basis. Right? So Krishna is saying, once you understand that behind everything in existence is my potency, is Brahman. Right? The light behind the light that the sun puts out is from me. Right? Like behind everything is that. Krishna is saying, Mad bhakta etat vigyaya. Vijnana means realization. So when a devotee realizes this, Mat bhava yopapadite, you can say he attains love for me, or another way to say that is he comes into relation with me. We're meant to relate to the Lord in every moment of our life. We should start to see that there is a spiritual will and spiritual energy behind the existence of everything. And we shouldn't interact with the world without that realization. So then you're coming into doing something very deep, which is yoga. You're linking. You're coming into relationship. And then you're going to act in the world in a much different way. Right? All those qualities that come to you, the pridelessness, all these kinds of things. So you understand there's a much bigger, deeper spiritual picture happening. Not just my own little ego trip on the world. If that makes sense. Okay. Any other thoughts from anybody? That's a big point that was just made.
What about the opposite? Like the darker side of things, like not all light parts, like the darker side of the light.
Are those also existing from the potency of the Lord?
Yes.
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 They are.
Thank you.
Okay. So all nothing can exist without sanction. That's what the super soul sanction is. Right? And in a deeper understanding, you understand consciousness is behind every vibration. So all the electromagnetic energy, all the light energy, everything, radio energy, everything that is, essentially everything is frequency and vibration. There's a source for all that frequency and all that vibration. Okay? There's a source for that. That means everything is existing by the Lord and for the Lord. But our relationship with that is what is a little bit off. Right? Because we have impositions. We have demands. We have exploitation, essentially, inside of us.
Would you say that resonates in our free will?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, where does that come from?
It comes from our own self. Right? I mean, you can say, like, I don't know exactly what you mean by, because that's a really deep question. But ultimately, we're called Jiva Shakti. We are a potency of the Lord. Right? We exist because He wants us to exist. But we exist as free units within this world. We have some freedom to set our conscious goal.
It's kind of a gift we've been given.
Yeah.
The mercy that
It's like, you make choices and you become addicted to ways of being. Just like everybody who's a heroin addict, the first few times they did heroin, they weren't addicted. They were just choosing to do that. Right? And then all of a sudden you get, you're on the street, and everyone who looks at you goes like, oh, that's so sad. And you could care less because you're like, holy crap, I need to get high like now, right? You're just used your free will, got captured and swept into a place where you wouldn't even identify with yourself, a year ago, right? So you can start to try to exploit reality, and what's going to happen is you're the one who's going to get wrung out. Reality is going to be okay. You're going to get wrung out. You're starting to interact with Maya. The minute you try to interact with reality, with the, okay, reality, you're going to do what I want, you're ultimately going to get wrung out. You're meant to love and contribute. That's what you're meant to do. But you can also choose not to. But you're just interacting with illusion. Right? But that doesn't mean that you can't do that. Like, you can do that. It's like even though, we look around in the world and we see people who are like successful exploiters, they're going to get wrung out. You get captured by your pattern. And it has its place that it goes, and it's not great. Right? You let these particular ways of being take you, and you're going to get your consequences, right? You might be put in a position where you can, rule a company of 20,000 people, or something like that, right? And you can just think of every single one of those 20,000 people as a little moneymaker for you, and you really just don't give anything about them. You don't care about them at all, right? And you're just utilizing them and using them. And you've got your own little agendas. And they might be really small agendas. Really powerful people can have really small agendas of just basically wanting to enjoy themselves. You know what I mean? Look at Jeffrey Epstein. You know what I mean? Like, he's captured all these super rich and famous people by offering like some really disgusting level of enjoyment to them. And it's like, that's the outcome of all your accomplishment, is that you're like, want to abuse a kid. You know what I mean? It's like pretty horrible, but that's how small you get. You know what I mean? So it's like this inversion that starts happening, and you're actually getting captured and taken down into like a really hellish state. Yeah.
I heard that even those kind of people have a part to play in the words we love.
Well, everything does. Everything has its place. Bad also has its place. It has to exist in order for there to be freedom. It has to. Right? There has to be the choice to do wrong. But that doesn't mean that choice doesn't have consequences. It has its consequence. And Guru Maharaj says, I heard him talking to one person, and it was very, very heavy. He said, your karma will come and bite your head off and drink your blood.
That's like Kali.
Yeah, that's exactly what Kali is, and that is what Kali literally represents. Because Kali,
she just doesn't play either.
Kali, this chapter is called Prakriti Purusha Yoga. One of the names of Kali is Prakriti. Okay, so like the minute you think, it is the most amazing thing to me. Kali is material energy. Okay, that's who she is. Her form that is worshipped by people who want material stuff, and they get it from worshiping her, is her holding the heads of the people who worship her, severed heads in her many arms, and wearing a crown of their heads.
Yeah.
And people literally are so desperate for their thing. They know that they want to exploit her. And so they're just like, yeah, give me stuff, give me stuff, give me stuff, give me stuff. She's like, I'm going to take your head. You know that. They're like, I don't care, I want it. Right? And that's what happens. People choose to do that. They become so consumed by like the immediate gratification that they know that something's going to happen in the future to them, and they're just like, that's going to happen to that other guy who's going to be me in the future. That's not me right now, right? I mean, people make choices like that all the time. They're like, that sucks to be me in 20 years, but that ain't me right now. You know what I mean? People do that all the time because they're so desperate.
But it's all you.
Yeah, that's right.
You're harming you.
Well, and then you figure it out finally. Sometimes it takes a lot of pain to figure it out. But pain makes you sincere. I can say that. You know, and none of us are exempt from that. You know, we've all had our lessons, but you know, it's a type of mercy that doesn't allow us to continue down that road very far. But you know, it's also the infinite. You know, you think you can't get smaller, you can. You know, you want to be envious, you want to just like anyone who comes around your stuff, my stuff, like hold on to you're just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're going to get a body that's smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. But the horrible thing is the smaller you get, you don't feel smaller. You feel like more like, right? Like think about like what's described as a spider. Like if you became a black widow, right? Like in between two little rocks, you know, in the mountains or something, right? You got your little web there. And you're just like full of poison. You know what I mean? And you're just like, my rock! Or whatever. I don't know exactly what the mentality is, but it's not a great mentality. There's a soul inside that spider. Okay? Like, you're not done. Like, you can still get way more smaller. Like, you know, we're in the infinite. So that mentality, Jaya, Gaurachandra Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. That mentality can go really far. Have you guys ever seen like a microscopic picture of a parasite? I mean, they're absolutely like comic book demonic. They're unbelievable. They're microscopic. But you see the thing and you're like, oh my God. I mean, they're really hideous and like demonic looking. And you just think like, you think this stops? It doesn't. You want to be a parasite on reality, you can go live and be a parasite in someone's gut. You know what I mean? Like, and you're sitting, it's mine. You know, like, right? Like, you're in the infinite. You can go down way farther than you think you can. And that's just in our plane of perception. There's all kinds of other dimensions out there. Like, you can just go down. You know what I mean? Infinitely, practically. You can go up infinitely also. But, like, you have to choose where you want to go. You're ultimately the captain of the ship. You know, Krishna's coming and saying, hey, do you want to go here? You want to go there? It's like, Gurudev would say that to people. He's just like, because Gurudev's in Bengal. You know, they're all worshiping Kali. And they're all worshiping Kali, like, literally, like, I mean, they have, like, these prayers, like, you know, Dhanam Dehi, this Dehi, that Dehi means give me. Dhanam means wealth. Like, they're literally just, like, saying these prayers, like, give me stuff. Right? And she's just kind of like, all righty. You know? Like, you think you're going to exploit the environment, but you're going to end up getting exploited. And that's just what happens. And then you can keep fighting against it, and then you're just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. But at any moment, you have grace and you have free will. And you choose your existence. That's just what it is. You're choosing your existence. And that's so much of what Gita is saying is have a moment of clarity and assert intention. And then Krishna's always giving his, beautiful advice. you should do this. That's my opinion. Right? He's still, even as he's telling Arjuna, he's giving this freedom. This is my advice. You can kind of do what you want, but I would suggest this. Right? So, I think it's very beautiful in a certain way. Huh?
I said all his different potencies and what he's given us.
Yes, all these different potencies. And, there's a way of interacting with all that potency that's in service. The full variety, the full spectrum of experience exists in his service. But choosing to interact with it in your own egotistic way does not have a great thing. You have to become universal. You have to become much broader. And there's a huge spectrum of possibility that you're built to be able to handle. But when you start asserting yourself, you narrow that spectrum to this tiny little thing that's actually a figment of your own concoction. Right? But when you start living as a servant, you can look at that huge spectrum of possibility and be ready to embrace all of it. That's a much, much bigger way to live. Right? Because the minute you just decide, like, I want, whatever it is, a Mazda Miata, then you're like living in this little. How do I know? Dude, I know so much. No, I'm just kidding. But like, if you just decide I want that, then now you're like living in this tiny little like world, right? But if you're like can look at the Lord and say whatever you wish, now you're living in a huge world of possibility. Huge world of possibility. And you can look at your future without anxiety. Because you're ready for anything. And now you're interacting. Now you're in a relationship. You're not just you against infinity, right? You and your little, like, I want to be the center of reality, and I'm looking out at the entire spectrum of reality, but I can only think of 4 things. And I was like, I want these 4 things. You know what I mean? Like, you're living in, like, a really small thing. And you don't even understand your own potential, but God does.
So is it better not knowing like what you want?
Well, you're naturally desiring, but serve the Lord.
Could you not be attached to whether you get those desires or not?
Yeah, and it's not fanatical, because Krishna also understands that we're kind of captured a little bit, right? It's like you eat a burrito and then you're just like, oh my God, I want a burrito! You know what I mean? It's just doing an example because there's a million things, but it's like you can get captured by these things. But even if you're captured, you should also have that want go through the Lord. Like you have to come into relationship with the source of reality. You know, because He may take that desire and harmonize it and give something beautiful to you. But you have to give it to the Lord. You know what I mean? You have to start to come into relationship with the source of reality, the soul of your soul. You have to. Don't interact with your day and your hour and your minute without coming into connection with the Lord.
I was saying the other day that like even in our prayer, the Lord was so kind of selfish. We're like, oh my Lord, you know, it's up to you, but like I would really like for this to happen, but whatever you like, and, you know, yeah, if he's feeling a little extra.
I think that's an honest prayer.
Yeah.
And like I always tell the story of Dhruva Maharaj because we recently read it in Bhagavatam. and I'm sure you know the story of Dhruva, or maybe you don't. But Dhruva was a prince. Do you know him? Do you know the story?
Maybe.
Okay. Well, I'll just say it briefly because I find it hope giving. Dhruva was a prince. He went to get onto his father's lap. The king had multiple wives, and his mother was not the favorite wife. He's 5 years old. He gets on the father's lap, and the first wife, the favorite wife, comes and takes him off his father's lap and says, "No, this is not your place." She says to him, "This is my son's place. He's going to be the king." And Drew was like humiliated and hurt and furious, and he's 5 years old. And he goes to his mother, just heartbroken, says, like, "This is what you told me. Like, is this true?" And she said, "Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you it is true." And he's just like, "Well, how can I change this?" She says, "You can't change this." And she goes, "I am not, I have to change this." She goes, "You have to ask God if you want to change this." And he says, "Okay, God, how do I find God?" And she says, "Maybe if you go into the forest or the mountains, you'll find a saint, and he'll help you." Basically, his mother tells him, and he just walks out of the palace and goes into the forest. And he's wandering in the forest, and Narada Muni, who's this sort of interstellar, you can say, Muni who travels astrally throughout the universe, comes to him and says, "Oh, little boy, what are you doing in this forest? It's very dangerous here. There's tigers and anacondas. Like, this is like a dangerous place. What are you doing here?" And he says, "Oh, I've been humiliated by my stepmother, my mother-in-law, or whatever, stepmother, and like I need to become powerful, and I need to find God." And Narada Muni's like, "Okay, you're the prince of like a huge kingdom, okay, you're not going to become king. You're going to have a great life. You literally have nothing to worry about. Just relax. Like, you're going to be fine. And also, let me give you a little bit of knowledge. What you're desiring is just a material desire. And these things are just manifestations of your own ego. They're not actual truth, and they're not going to give you actually satisfaction. So, you're going to be fine, and your desires are not actually something that you should allow to possess you like that." And Dhruva says, "Prabhu, I know you're telling me the truth. I can feel that you're telling me the truth right now. But because my heart is so full of desire, your words find no place in my heart." That's what he tells him. And he says that word. He goes, "Your words find no place in my heart." And when I'm reading this, I think Narada Muni's just going to be like, just blast him, But he doesn't. And he says, he smiles. He's full of mercy to him. And he smiles and he says, "Well, then your mother's right. We do need to go to the Supreme Lord." And then he gives him a mantra to pray to the Lord and teaches him how to meditate. And it's very, very sweet. Because the Lord can accommodate everything. And it's not like he doesn't sacrifice. It's not like an idle prayer. You know what I mean? He starts, when Narada Muni teaches him, this is like dhyana yoga, where ultimately you're regulating your prana, and then you're eating one leaf a week, then you start eating one leaf a month, then you simply survive off your own breath, right? Like doing prana. He's teaching in pranayama, and then you stop breathing. And the whole thing is just prana circulating inside of you, perpetuating your body. And that's a really difficult meditation. And his meditation becomes so powerful that the universe starts getting destabilized by his potency and is drawing energy toward him. And the higher beings, the demigods in different dimensions are going someone's And they pray to the Lord. They're like, Lord, you need to go see this boy. So the Lord finally comes and appears in front of him. And he's meditating. Narada Muni taught him to meditate on the feet of the Lord. And he's just not breathing, circulating his prana, and just meditating on the feet of the Lord. And then suddenly the feet of the Lord disappear from his mind. And he's just like, huh! My meditation's broken. He opens his eyes, and the Lord's in front of him. And the minute he sees the Lord, he is filled with humility and embarrassment. He's like, oh, I see the beauty of your feet, and I realize everything I wanted was trash. I wanted a kingdom, it's trash. I wanted a planet, it's trash. He's just like, what? I'm so humiliated and embarrassed, like that. But then the Lord's like, no, I want to give you something. Yeah, you can have a planet, and you can be like this, and that, he gives him what he wanted. But then he becomes, a great devotee, and he's said to be the Lord of the pole star that we see in the northern sky, is Dhruva Marsh. So I think that's a nice story, because Narada Muni is merciful to him, that he's captured by this material desire and this humiliation and this desire to have a kingdom greater than his father's, he's like, my father did well, I want to have a bigger kingdom than his, and he teaches him to meditate upon the Lord, and then the Lord harmonizes. So, sometimes devotees feel like, oh, I have a material desire, I should just, what they end up doing is separating that material desire from their spiritual life, and then living this bifurcated life. Where I have this spiritual life on one side, and then this thing I really, 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 really want on the other side, that actually starts possessing your consciousness. But you have to have an integrated life. You have to have one life. And that life has to have Krishna at the center. So even if you're possessed by some type of material desire, you have to pass that up to the Lord. And bare your heart. And when you come in front of Mahaprabhu, don't feel all right, I did my service for today, yeah, I'm kind of doing good. And you got this other material thing, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go get that one too. But you should feel see, Lord, I'm a hypocrite, I'm a fool, I'm captured, but I present myself to you, let me do some service if you like, something like that. Your spiritual life and this other part of your life. That's a really bad, dangerous, schizophrenic thing to do. So, yes, we have the ideal that we're not coming to the Lord with any demand. That's the ideal. That's how a devotee is. But sometimes we're not ready to do that. And if we're not, then you have to have an honest existence. And at least make a proposal, to the Lord. Okay. I hope that's helpful. What time is it? Oh my gosh, it's past 8 o'clock. And we did not finish the chapter?
We did.
Okay, how many verses do we have left? Okay, can we try and do this? Let's do 15 verses very quickly.
Okay, let's.
Is everybody down for that? I know it's a lot. In 2025, I think you guys already surpassed the adult attention span, so congratulations. Which is, I think, 40 minutes. So
Goldfish would give us a round of applause.
Are we good, everybody? Can we do 15 more? If everybody's blown out, then we can.
Let's go ahead.
I'm wondering if we can contain our questions.
15 more.
Right?
I've got a lot of questions.
15 more verses. 15 more verses.
15.
The plate's still on the...
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I'm just getting ready to take it out. Take it out. No, I'm just going to clean up.
What verse are we at?
I think we're only on 20.
20?
Yep. But if there is a question, we'll just do one more question and then...
I have a question about the next one. If you could explain it all.
The next one, you already read 20, 21, and 22? Okay, let's read the Sanskrit and read these. Prakritim purusham jaiva vidyannadi ubhavapi vikaramscha gunamscha vidhi prakriti sambhavan karya karana kartripve hetu prakriti uchyate purusha sukha dukhanam bhoktritve hetu uchyate purusha prakriti sthohi bhukte prakriti jan gunam karanam gunasangosya sarasajam yoni janmasu. Okay. Ananya, I think this is your reading.
Know that both material nature, Maya, and the person, individual soul are beginningless, and know that the transformations, body, senses, and their functions, and the transformation of the modes of nature, such as pleasure, pain, sorrow, and delusion, are born of material nature. Material body is said to be the cause of the production of effect, the body, and cause, the senses. The person in material bondage is said to be the cause of the condition of being an enjoyer or a sufferer of happiness and unhappiness. Being situated within material nature, a person enjoys the modes born of material nature. His attachment to these modes is the cause of his repeated births in higher and lower species.
Okay, that is the whole thing, very succinctly put. What's the question, Laura?
I mean, I think with sorrow, it says that it's born of the material nature.
Yes.
So, I have sorrow that my dog passed away, and that's because the dog is material and I was attached to it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's interesting, in Mahabharata, very intense things happen in that story. And one of the things that Krishna says many times in Mahabharata is don't lament.
Don't what?
Lament.
Lament. What does that mean?
Lamentation means to be filled with sorrow and grief and sort of hopelessness and wishing that it wasn't.
Yeah.
And part of lamentation is born of, we feel like we lost that relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not fully lost. It exists within the infinite. And your dog has a soul, and it also has its own motion, right? He's not dead.
Yeah. What about when you feel sorrow from someone else's actions? That's also not actually true. Okay.
No one has the ability to harm you.
Yeah.
This is a very deep concept, and I'm speaking the conclusion without getting all the build up to that conclusion.
Yeah.
But
I feel like the sorrow is triggered past things, like maybe sorrow I needed to feel within from the past, like their actions.
There's a feeling that's coming to you, that's for sure.
Okay.
But it has to be harmonized in God.
Okay.
In the end, the sorrow is arising from you, is arising in you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a you that can go through that same circumstance and not feel sorrow.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And that's important to understand. All of these things
we always speak in this way where things happen to us.
Yeah.
And it's actually not the case. Things happen in us.
In us. Okay, I like to say for us.
Well, for us is a much deeper concept.
Yeah.
And that's actually the truth.
Yeah.
But when we're experiencing sorrow that we ascribe to someone else, it's actually not from that person.
Yeah,
it's happening, you can say the circumstance is a catalyst for stimulating something that's occurring within us.
Right.
But the deeper sense is what you said, which is the Lord gave me this experience for my good.
Yeah.
And that is the pure positivity of Vaishnavism. Vaishnavism means servants of Krishna, basically, followers of the Gita. The pure positivity of Vaishnavism is saying everything is occurring from a plane of beneficialness, of love toward you. There's positivity at the basis of this. And so you have to view everything from that standpoint. It might be something as, like somebody I know was just banned from like a particular yoga center.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean like, just like core power yoga, right? Like that kind of yoga, not like super deep stuff. And she felt it was super, super unfair and is like seriously disturbed about it. But there's another way of looking at it, which is what I shared with her, which is the Lord shut that door for you. That means you're supposed to go somewhere else. And that's good. Whatever you were going to be doing with that has now been shut off. And now you're going to have to go do something else to sort of fill whatever that is. And just be filled with the idea, that's good.
Yeah.
God, who loves me, is making me go do something else.
Yeah.
Okay? So I don't know what that is, but I'm going to stop living in the world of possibilities that my mind can come up with, which is extremely limited, and start living in unlimited possibility, which is the Lord's will. Right? So everything is seen as positive. Not only that, the sorrow that I feel is also cleansing. So I'm going to see it as coming from Him. Not from the dude who gave it to me or the lady who gave it to me or whatever the circumstance was that resulted in me feeling that. But I'm going to see the Lord who loves me is giving me this feeling. And I'm going to let it do its work. And one level of me is going to be feeling quote-unquote sorrow. The other level of me is going to be smiling and saying, okay, let this feeling come and do its work. Some people, when they feel a feeling that their mind, their current egotistic structure has decided it doesn't like, they will go get intoxicated. They'll run away. They'll change their geography. They'll do anything to not feel that feeling. But a Vaishnava says, oh, my Lord gave me a feeling. I'm going to feel it all the way. I'm going to freaking concentrate on sorrow. I'm going where exactly am I feeling? Because there's like a psychosomatic feeling.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, where is it? Oh, it's sort of like here. Is it like in my heart? Close your eyes and concentrate on the feeling with the idea that the Lord's giving this to me. And I will feel this all the way and let it do its work.
Okay.
Instead of imposing this thing of I won't feel this.
Yeah.
It's just a feeling in the end. The ego's the one that's going no, not that one. I want the other one. But it's just a feeling. And it's a feeling in consciousness, and it has work to do.
Okay.
So, the feeling of Vaishnavism is the Lord has given me this, and it's for me, and it's for my good. And I'm going to go into it, not away from it. I'm going into it.
Yeah.
ultimately what we move to interacting with is not the person did this and now I feel that, but it's going to the Lord is giving it to me. Then I'm not going to go back to that person, I'm going to go to the Lord and then let the Lord sort that out.
I like that.
Okay.
Verse 23.
Okay. All right. Should we? I mean, it's really late. It's 8:15. Are we all past the bedtime? Could we do 10 more rows? But without. Or maybe we should just stop for tonight. Come on next week.
Okay.
Okay. Let's stop for tonight. Okay. Jai Srila Bhagavad Gita Bhasha Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Bhagavad Ki Jai.
Jai.
Om Vishwabha Shri Bhakti Rabba Shri Deva Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Vishwabha Shri Bhakti Sundar Gurudeva Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Rupana Guru Varga Ki Jai.
Jai.
All the devotees reading Gita tonight Ki Jai.
Jai.
Rupanande. Very quick Hari.
Okay.
4 lines. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama. Madhavaya Madhavaya Kesaya Nama.
Mal Govinda Ram Madhusudan.
Mal Govinda Ram Madhusudan.
Giridhari Gopinath Nadana Mohan.
Giridhari Gopinath Nadana Mohan.
Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra.
Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra. Radha Shiva Sari Gaura Govinda. Rupa Sanatana Gata Raghunatha. Shiva Gokala Bata Dasa Raghunatha.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Ram Hare Ram.
Okay. Dandavat, guys.
Dandavat, Prabhu.
And Mahaprasad ki.
Ki Jai. Amima Krishna Prabhu Ki Jai.
Oh, Bhima! I gotta call Bhima.
Dandavat. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Yo.